So, you should not thank me at all, first of all, Sai Swarupaji, because there is so much. It was just overwhelming to just understand the amount of thoughts that have gone into our ancient texts. If you just take it as analogies to be applied to any yuga, as you said, whatever the Jaya Vigna Yantra. Wow, what has that done to so many of us? And how
I know it applies at so many levels. It can apply at a very personal level. It may apply at a family level, at a social level.
Yes, absolutely. And then the Gananayaks that can be invoked. That's really very, very rich. I mean, I'll just let somebody else if they have questions. I don't want to keep talking.
Sai Swarupaji, namaste. This is Suresh here. So I don't have questions, but I put it in the chat also. I thought I will share that. This is so nice because that now it comes to my mind why a lot of names in Lalita Sahasranamam are there.
Yeah.
I occasionally recite it, not like regular as what you say, but it makes sense. Lot of the names when you are saying, okay, everything is related to this. So almost all the names, whatever you mentioned.
The first 40 shlokas, first 30-40 shlokas are about the genesis of Lalita to killing of Bhandasura. So it's a beautiful when chanted with a conscious, being conscious about the importance of each name. It's a beautiful chant, beautiful prayer.
So, which is the most common, to listen for the first time? Which one of these Lalita Sahasranam?
I listen to a certain scholar called Brahmashri Samavedam Shanmukha Sharma. So Shrikantji, I'll message you the link, the YouTube link of this one.
Yes,
he's
please.
basically he's a Telugu scholar. He's expounded the Bhashya of Lalita Sahasranama, and the whole series is 180 episodes. But episode 5 has of this whole series has him chanting the whole Lalita Sahasranama after correcting certain thritis that have crept into publications after 1950 or something. There was one reference text which made some small mistakes, and all the publications started following it, which is why the popular knowledge has a couple of mistakes, and he's corrected them and chanted it. I'll share the YouTube link with you once we are done with the session, and you can share it with others.
Yes, that will be great. Yes. And you mentioned in the Gita Press, were you referring to the Brahmanda Purana as a whole or just the Lalita Akhyana?
Brahmanda Purana has a lot more stories.
Yeah, exactly.
But Lalitopakhyana is one of the important episodes of Brahmanda Purana. It's the last, this one. I'm just glancing at the. Yeah, it is called, there is a Purva Bhaga and there is a Madhyama Bhaga and there is a Uttara Bhaga. So the Madhyama Bhaga has Parashuramas. The Parashurama avatar in a very detailed, with a lot of detail background of Parashurama, and it totally describes the greatness of Kartavirya Arjuna, and then we have some other smaller stories, and the Uttara Bhaga, which is the fourth part of Lalita Sahasranama. The fourth part of Brahmanda Purana has Lalitopakhyana in detail. So yes, if you even if you have a Lalitopakhyaana available, you can read it in detail.
Yes, yes.
I have a small question, maybe a little foolish, but the
No.
how do you explain children that something is evoked or like was made out of something? So, like when we say the parts of
Like the nails.
nails and all, like how do you explain in this era? Like how will they
Yeah,
believe, or how,
absolutely.
what way, or what is the thing which we should say so that they understand what we are saying? Because I know it's just not the
Yes. I think
physical thing. Yes.
so Manasi ji, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, Manasi ji, if I can call it a mistake that a lot of modern storytellers do is limit themselves to a rationalistic view of things. Right. When we limit, it's fascinating to look at the rational possibilities of this stories happening. It's fascinating, but at the same time, we should not limit ourselves to the one way of the one way that things can happen. That again is has Abrahamic roots. It's anti-Abrahamic. Rationalism is anti-Abrahamic, but in being anti-Abrahamic, it suffers from the same limitations that Abrahamic thought process suffers from. So if we want in a natural process, I know giving birth to something, creating something from natural or from a normal way has certain, we need to synthesize certain, it could be life forces, it could be some laboratory assisted, it could be nature assisted, it could be industry assisted, depending upon whatever we are creating. It's basically various components or various life forms interacting with each other, taking a natural course of course of this. But when we come to divine texts, we also need to understand that those deities have the power to accelerate these processes, accelerate or decelerate depending upon their, and time, the whole relativity of time, the time frames, they differ from human to each. Exactly, actually it's not just gods versus humans. There is a whole cycle of time difference. Like what is 1 year to us on this earth is 1 day to our pitrus. That is, pitrus are ancestors, our ancestors, who have departed this world are on the way to the higher worlds, and their 1 year is 1 day to the devas, and there are these kinds of time relativity things. So what takes us 9 months it could take one moment for the higher forces. Right. So I think it's always good to give this perspective to the kids that there is a possibility of supernormal or those higher forces. We need not be rational about everything. Sorry, I took too long to answer that.
No, I think Sai Swarupaji, that is a very, very important thing. Just yesterday we had some visitors and we were talking about the same thing, that fundamentally trying to fit everything in a certain view of understanding the world is one of the limiting approaches. And so we always bump against it. And then we got into what you mentioned just now. He was then telling me about a story in which it says that a king went to Swarga to get, a husband for his daughter. And by the time he came back, everything was changed and he was surprised. And because the people on earth told him, what you are talking is 10,000 years old. So time travel was explained. But let me do one thing. Sorry, I think Dipti ji wants to ask a question maybe. She's raised her hand.
Okay. Sure.
Yes, hi Sai Swarupaji. Another eye-opening talk. I think, as always, your talks are. I actually had the same question as Mansi ji had as well. That how do you explain these concepts to younger children? Like, this is such a fantastic story with so many life lessons for not just, I mean, definitely for our age people, but also for the younger generation. And yet there is, it's a very hard story to pass on without them, rolling their eyes essentially, right? So have you encountered this, and how do you break through that as a storyteller?
One way is to catch them very young before they start having these kind of logical questions, VPG. So catch them at their 6 7 year old age, and impart the basic story. Don't worry about their understanding or whether they'll get the whole depth. Even we don't get, after multiple readings, we fall short of understanding. So don't aim that, don't target their whole understanding. It's just that, there's a reason why we worship this certain goddess. It's because she protected this universe, and there's a story behind it. So whether it happened or not, let them question, because if you are at the age of 13 14, you basically discovering things which could have been which cause certain disillusionment to that age, because 5 to 10, they have certain idealistic view of things, and they are discovering weaknesses in this universe as they proceed to their teens, right? So questioning and rolling the eyes is all a part of process. So what I would say is, this is the format in which our rishis gave the gyan, and the way we understand it is our journey. So for a 13 or 14-year-old, the story means something. And as a 20-year-old, come back, finish your college education and come back and, reread it, there would be something else. In your 30s, once you are, once life experience start kicking, that will mean something else. So it's the understanding is, a whole journey. They need not accept it as it is. That takes time, given the challenge of living in US and mingling with people of different backgrounds. But this is something where, where being proud of our roots does not mean being jingoistic, but it is, taking care of the legacy. This is whatever it is, it came from my ancestors, and they have preserved it. 5,000, 7,000 years of legacy would not have been preserved if not for something deeper than what it looks at the moment, right? So with that, this one, with that aim and with that purpose, if we pass it on, it would be.
So, Sai
That's such a wise answer. Thank you.
yeah, Dipti ji and Sai Swarupa ji, what I'm seeing here again is, once again we are bumping against the fundamental challenge I see is, we are trying to explain something which inherently takes time in a world where you have to be 144 characters or one WhatsApp message length.
I know. And we look for a very, the fast results. That takes time, Srikanji. So when, even as ambassadors of Dharma, if we are looking to pass on the message, we should not get too angry at the provocative reactions. Because they're all a part of this process. Even resistance to understanding is a part of that person's individual journey.
Yes.
Right. So we shouldn't be in a hurry that everybody who receives our message will just understand it. In that moment.
Yes, from that perspective only, Sai Swarupa ji, the Jaya Vigna Yantra was an amazing thing for me today. It's all about that, right? I mean, all Jaya Vignas are going to be there. You be ready for it, or then don't talk about it.
True. And even goddesses, all those powerful Shakti Senas have fallen prey to Jaya Vigna Yantra. So, when we are normal human beings, even our leaders are normal human beings, they keep falling, and we have to just stay together. Right?
I think Venkat Mandavaji, who is on the call, also had a similar question. So Venkatji, if you have any follow-up, please ask. Otherwise, yeah, he had typed it in the chat. It was a very similar thing about how to see, because most of us also look at our next generation. And as you mentioned here in the far away place from India, it becomes even more critical because we see our younger generations being bombarded by things against which we have nothing to share. So how to do that becomes, So that was, I think, the question. Venkatji, do you have anything else on this to ask or say? Or you're okay?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, it's the same thing again. Namaste, Venkatji. The same thing, we keep propagating it. Only thing is, again, there is a concept of Nishkama Karma. I know it's very easy for me to say, but as we propagate the message of Dharma, the stories, the knowledge of our rishis, even we have to keep in mind that the result will take its own course. And we have to keep faith. So, there may be 10 friends of yours, 2 of them may accept without questions, 2 of them may not question just because they value the relationship, 3 of them may make fun of it. And, then our children, they are, they are seeing all of this. But once the foundations are strong, they will, the inherent Shakti, right? The foundation itself is that inherent Shakti. So, she will act at the right moment, have that faith. And it is very important for us to retain that faith in what we are propagating, right? Rather than think of us as some guardians, we should think of ourselves as, servants of Dharma. That humility is required. With that humility, when that humility is there, I think those kind of all the Jaya Vignas, they won't affect us.
Yes.
I know everything is very difficult to put into practice, Shikanji. So even I'm feeling a bit, pompous to say.
It's a lot of background, right? You need to understand, you need to digest and do that.
Yes.
It's a lot of knowledge, and it is not coming in that 15 minutes. There are months and months behind it, what you have acquired and you are putting it. So, yeah, totally.
So one of the purposes of these kind of, getting together is to remind each other that there are
Yes.
many of us who think and we can draw energy and support. That
Yes,
is
yes.
true. This is possible. Because if we were in a vacuum alone, we would very much, be hit by that Jaya Vigna Yantra, one of them, and that, okay, nothing is going to change.
When you reminded about getting together, I'm reminded of this shloka from Bhajagovindam, which goes Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. So, because of the Satsanga, we remind each other of good things, and once we become then we become self-sufficient with this knowledge. So that is a Nissanga. Nissanga is not giving up associations. It's being there, but not being dependent on social acceptance. So that's when you reach the Nissanga, because you already have the knowledge. And once you reach that stage, then you are not affected by public reactions, even if they are provocative, if they are, they're against what we hold dear. We are not affected. We have to fight, but we are not affected. That is when when we have the Nirmohatva, and that leads to the Nischala Tattva, right? And it's a journey. It's a journey taking not just one lifetime, but several lifetimes, I guess. And we are just fortunate to be in this civilizational
Yes.
journey.
Yes. In fact, that's good you said the last sentence, because I was going to say from Satsangatve to Nischala Tattva might be multiple lives again.
Yes.
You don't start and end.
Yes. So I guess it's time for me to start my day.
Yes, for you. So, Sai Sarupaji, okay, I have to come here just to say namaste. And
Namaste, namaste. Thanks a lot. I loved narrating the story. I hope everyone found it meaningful.